Hey YouTube. So today I am going to be talking about Miss Juneteenth. I recently saw the movie. I actually saw it at the drive-in for the first time. I had never been to the drive-in before, so it was an experience. And it premiered June 19th, 2020. So it was written and directed by Channing Godfrey Peoples. She is a writer who has some credits on Queen Sugar, the TV show on OWN. But this is her debut film, so she's technically a newcomer. And this story is about a single mother who is working and trying to put her daughter through a beauty pageant, the Miss Juneteenth pageant, and it explores the struggles of her life and her experience with her daughter, her mother, and her husband. I don't want to do spoilers because I think people should try to see the movie. I mean, even though we're in a pandemic right now, there are ways you can rent this movie and see it for yourself. So I just want to talk about two of the main themes in this movie that I think are important, and also another interesting part of this movie that I think is important. So that's what I want to discuss here today. So first, the cast. So the cast is the main character is Turquoise. It's played by Nicole Beharie. And I know Nicole Beharie from 42, about Jackie Robinson, starring Chadwick Boseman, and I thought that was a really good movie. She did a good job. So that's where I know her from. Her husband is Ronnie, played by Kendrick Sampson, and he is from Insecure. That's where I know him from. And then we have her daughter named Kai, that's played by Alexis Chikeze. She is a newcomer. This is actually her first film, her first audition, and she actually booked the role. Lori Hayes, who plays Charlotte, and she is Turquoise's mother. So that's the main cast. All of these people are, I believe, from the South. I know Nicole is not from Texas, she's from Florida, but all of the other characters are from Texas. And Channing Godfrey Peoples, the writer and director, she's from Fort Worth, Texas. And then Kendrick is from Houston, and Alexis is from Dallas. So I like that she casted Southern Black Americans, Southern Black people, and that I believe that being Southern, you bring something extra to the table because you have that experience. You grew up in that state. This film is based in Texas, so I feel like they have, like, you know, a connection. So we all know Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day that commemorates the freeing of the last enslaved African Americans here in the United States. In Galveston, Texas, that is where they last learned of their freedom. So I have on a Juneteenth shirt, but I got this shirt from Philadelphia Printworks, which is a t-shirt company, and they have like a lot of different like Black Panther shirts and shirts that celebrate Black history. So I got this shirt like a couple days after Juneteenth, so I wasn't able to wear it on Juneteenth, but I did celebrate Juneteenth this year. This is a little tangent. I celebrated Juneteenth this year for the first time, and it was fun. We had a good time. We had a picnic. And so next year I will be wearing this t-shirt. But to get back to the film, it was nominated for a couple of awards. It premiered at Sundance and South by Southwest. It was the winner of the Lewis Black Lone Star Award and Best Texas Film. So it was a winner at South by Southwest. Well, one of the main themes in this movie is, to me, that nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. Everybody has a flaw here and there. And I really enjoyed this movie because it wasn't perfect. Like, it wasn't aesthetically perfect. The people in the film, Turquoise's hair at some points wasn't done to perfection. And they didn't look perfect. They didn't look made up and done up. They looked like regular Black people. That's something I've been noticing about Black films, because I am very critical, and This dog will not stop barking, so I apologize, but I'll try to speak louder. What I've noticed about a lot of Black films is that they kind of push an image of perfection, and I think that's done purposely because Black people have been portrayed negatively for so long in the media. So in order to correct that, we have the Black creators have oftentimes like put a perfect image out there to try to combat the negative stereotypes. But I feel like that can also be damaging too, because then we feel like, you know, a lot of times I feel like with Black people in media, we don't just look at the TV and cut it off. Sometimes we look at the TV and we internalize. So sometimes I feel like we internalize messages that we see, both good and bad messages. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have movies that have this perfect like image, but I also feel like it's good for us to have a balance and show regular Black people, like just show Black people who are normal and regular, and not poor and desolate all the time, and not upper high class, high achieving. But there's a middle ground that I don't think gets shown a lot, and we need more Black creators to show that experience. So that's what I liked about this movie, was that the characters were not perfect, they were complex, and the story, you know, like the characters just weren't perfect. They were imperfect people, because human beings are not perfect, and it wasn't pushing like a perfect storyline. It wasn't perfect. Like the things that happened in this movie, it wasn't sad. Like it wasn't like, oh, I left feeling sad. No, but like, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but it just wasn't like a happy ending. But at the same time, it was kind of like a happy ending, but an imperfect happy ending. So I enjoyed that, because I feel like I'm going to mention two creators whose movies I do enjoy. I do enjoy some Tyler Perry movies. I do enjoy Will Packer movies, but I feel like especially with Will Packer, like all his movies are like Black female businesswoman, hair laid, attires to the nines, you know, dressed to the nines, and like name brand clothing. And that's cool because it looks good. Like I enjoy looking at that. But I also like a little, you know, I like a little balance in there. So Channing People, she provided us with some balance and with a story that is relatable. And it's very relatable, because so the next theme is relationships. Relationships are challenging. Relationships are challenging. That's another thing, like the challenges that mothers go through with raising their daughters, and the relationship you have with yourself, and the relationship you have with a significant other, a spouse, or a boyfriend or girlfriend. This movie explored challenges in relationships, and it was relatable for me because I have a mother, and I had my mother. She definitely wanted a certain path for me. I think all parents want their children to live up to their expectations, but at the same time, it's like, you know, your child is your child. I mean, your child is their own person, and they have to bump their head a few times. They have to go through life and experience life to figure out what they want for their lives. So I thought that was very relatable. And just like for me, like my mom, she wanted me to go she wanted me to be an engineer. And so she would always put me in pre-college engineering programs, because she thought an engineer made good money, and that, you know, you go to college and you get a good job and you make good money and you're satisfied. But it's not that simple. And I feel like a lot of parents sometimes, you know, they have good intentions, they want the best for their children, but they don't really like look at their children and like listen. What is your child talking about? What is your child interested in? What is your child like? You know, get to know your child, like really talk to them and get to know what they're into, so that you can put them in programs and take them to where they actually want to be. so that they can hone in on the skills and the talents that they have, and strengthen them through, like for me, I always wanted to be a singer, but not famous. But I always wanted to be a singer, and I always wanted to take voice lessons. But my mother, I would express that to her, and nothing. You know, I had to take it upon myself to take voice lessons. So I think parents, if you can, get to know your children and like put them in activities that they will enjoy. And it's not that you don't have any influence on your child, but just know when you're overstepping and you're not allowing them to be themselves and do what they want. So this film explored that tension between mother and daughter, parent and child, also between Turquoise and her mother, Charlotte, and that past that they didn't discuss, they never worked through. So it explores that. And then the relationship, co-parenting with a spouse, and how you are trying to work on you two's relationship while still trying to support your child. You know, it's a lot. So also the relationship with yourself, like not having resentment towards other people and forgiving others. And you have to do all that to have a better relationship with yourself. I feel like when you hold all that in, it's definitely affecting the relationship you have with yourself. So yeah, having to let all that go, figuring out, you know, what you want for yourself and not really living in the past, and just kind of like working through that and getting through that so that you can keep moving forward. The last thing that I want to talk about is how interesting the pageant culture, pageant life is, and how pageants get a bad rep here in the US because there's been so much, you know, talk about how pageants are not necessary anymore, and how they are sexist and how they harm women. But honestly, like, I've been watching pageants my whole life. I've always loved watching pageants. I never watched them and internalized what I saw, because I mean, maybe I did subconsciously, but I always felt like when I watched pageants that they were just interesting, like even to learn about the contestants and the women competing. But it is definitely obvious that pageants, especially like large scale pageants, tend to exclude women, Black women, women of color, Asian women, Hispanic women tend to not be represented. And honestly, what do you expect? Number one, because like with African Americans specifically, we have Miss Juneteenth. We had pageants like Miss Black America in the past when segregation was still a thing written into law. Black people had to create their own. And so I believe pageants are necessary for Black women, at least. I feel like we have to celebrate our beauty. And throughout my life, I haven't seen a lot of celebration of Black beauty and Black entertainment and Black television, Black media, nor have I seen it on a larger scale in mainstream media. I feel like Black beauty is seen as something trivial. For one, women are, it's a woman thing. So obviously, like, a lot of things that are geared towards women are trivialized, and we are then teased or pressured to believe that it's not necessary, that we don't need to do it. And like with like feminism, you know, feminists, they want women, not just Black women, but all women, to expand themselves and see themselves as more than just your beauty. And I do agree with that. But if we've never celebrated our beauty, when will we do that? When will we? Because I feel like with Black beauty specifically, it has excluded a lot of Black women. If you don't look a certain way, if you don't have a certain skin color or a certain hair texture, you tend to be excluded. And so I think it's important for us to get back to recognizing what Blackness is, what Black beauty is, and really look in the mirror and get comfortable with ourselves, get comfortable with our hair, get comfortable with our nose shapes and our lips and our skin. Like, we really need to get comfortable, and we really need to celebrate it. And the Miss Juneteenth pageant celebrates Black beauty. And I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know Miss Juneteenth was a thing, but it's really a thing. And it celebrates Black girls, because there's not a lot of celebration going on when it comes to Black women and our beauty. And this is a difficult conversation to have, with talking about our beauty and our hair. It's a conversation that I feel like people are very emotional about. And I can get emotional about it too at times, because not emotional like crying, but emotion like passionate. Like, I'm passionate about Black women and about Black hair and hair care and our beauty, because we aren't celebrated. And we don't have, we do have Essence magazine, but growing up, like, you don't have a lot of Black preteen like magazines to celebrate Black women's beauty or Black young girls' beauty. And it's just like Black women get left out. So to have that Miss Juneteenth pageant, to have it specifically for Black women and Black girls at a time where they're going through a lot and sensitive and experiencing a lot and trying to figure yourself out in this world, like, I feel like beauty pageants are important for Black women. But also beauty pageants can be have some negative parts to them, because Miss Juneteenth, this movie, did explore the negative side of pageants. She briefly explored that. So yeah, I think beauty pageants are not, I don't think beauty pageants are irrelevant. I feel like they still have a place, especially for young Black girls. And last year, the Miss Teen USA, Miss America, Miss USA, and like Miss World were all Black. And that was cool, because I know it's symbolism, and symbolism doesn't always mean a lot. It's just like, you're just a symbol. But I think it could affect us and influence us to see the beauty in ourselves. But we need to see the beauty in ourselves regardless of if it's a Miss whatever being a Black woman. We need to see our beauty at all times, every single day. And we need to get really in tune to who we are and what is beauty for us, and what is beautiful about us. And we have to go through that. Like, we have to really get in touch with who we are. So that's my little rant for that. But lastly, like, I want to say that this movie is a movie that showcases a Black woman's resilience. Like, I know Black women have this stereotype of being strong. Black women, Black women can take all the punches and take everything, but no, we have weaknesses. We are human beings, and we are resilient. And I prefer the word resilient over strong, because, resilience shows that you can get knocked down and get back up. And so I prefer resilient. And I think Turquoise was resilient in this movie. And through all her struggles and throughout all the bad things that happened in her life, she continued to keep pushing, keep going. And in the end, it all paid off. So I hope you guys go out and see this movie. I think it's a good movie. I believe that Black female creators, Black women creators, writers, producers, directors, they don't get the same amount of attention that Black male creators do. And that's, that is what it is. But I feel like we should definitely support this movie. And I'm always like a fan of like indie films and low-key films or movies that are a little bit more artsy. And I feel like with this movie, I learned a lot. And I came out feeling like, it wasn't a super happy ending, but it was inspiring. And I left feeling like that was cool. Like, that was a cool movie. Yeah, I just left feeling like that was cool, that was enjoyable, like that was a really good movie. And so yeah, I think everyone should go see it, support this film. You can rent it on Amazon Prime. I believe you can rent it here on YouTube. Again, I went to the drive-in and saw it, so if you have a drive-in in your area, go if it's playing there. And that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching, and leave any of your comments or thoughts below if you saw the movie or if you plan to see it. You can leave those below, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.